Okay, so welcome to the talk, Understanding the Android for Cars Third-Party Ecosystem. I'm not sure how many Android developers are here or how many developers in general. I'm not sure, yeah, so developers, okay, Android developers, you are an Android developer, okay. So that means that this talk is probably good for all of you because, little disclaimer, this is not about coding, it's mostly about sharing a few facts that I've been collecting when trying to build apps for cars and try to publish them. So I think this will give you a very good overview of the ecosystem in case you want to publish something for Android in cars. So that being said, uh, for today, what I have is basically a little introduction to the Android for Cars ecosystem. Then we will have a little overview about the different apps that can be published. And then we will look at the different distribution channels, so basically the different app stores that are available for targeting the cars. And then finally, I will share some basically thoughts and experiences that I've been collecting. So before starting, so probably you already know myself. So I'm Antonio. I'm a software engineer. And yeah, sometimes I like exploring different places by motorbike. And this is not AI generated, this is real. It happened to me while traveling from Germany to the south of Spain. Randomly, I found this statue in the middle of France. And this is actually a present from Google to the city because this city is a city where they make this nougat. And one of the, you know that the Android releases are called after desserts. So nougat was one of them. I think it was version 7 of Android. And since this place was famous for this, they got this present. So random fact of the day, but yeah, so no AI, real stuff. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, and there, yeah, I put a QR there just with my little adventures on YouTube around Cyprus and so on with my motorbike. So here I didn't find yet any Android statue, but maybe in the future we find a souvlaki or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, let's start with the introduction. But first of all, I would really like to start with a little experiment. So I want you to imagine your dream car. Just think about the color, think about the places where you would go, just for a couple of seconds. Okay? And now, questions. How many of you did you imagine driving the car? Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's the point. Yeah. And how many of you were just sitting in the car without driving? Okay. Okay. So I guess the rest of you were just using bicycles or whatever. But it doesn't matter. So there is a reason for this little experiment, and basically it has to do with the different ways how we can use a vehicle. So if you are a mobile developer targeting apps for the phone, there is only one way you can use the phone mostly, right? You interact with the apps, you do whatever as a user, main user. But in the car, there are different scenarios, and this is what we are going to show in the next slides. The first one is basically driving mode. So you are sitting on the steering wheel and basically interacting with the central screen. This part here is basically called the head unit. And while you are, sorry?
This is not in Cyprus.
No, this is basically probably Germany, yeah.
No, I'm saying because the wheel is here. No?
Because sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah, yeah. I'm still trying to adapt to that, you know. Like since I'm riding a motorbike, I don't have that problem, you know. But anyway, so yeah, so if you are in driving mode and you interact with the central screen, here the main goal is to reduce distraction. So any kind of application you put there, the main goal is not to distract the driver, mostly because of safety reasons and legal reasons. If you have an accident, then you can blame probably the OEM, the car manufacturer. Then there is a second use case, that is when the car is parked. So now with electric cars, you can be charging, or you can be, I don't know, in a traffic jam or somewhere. You can get your devices and play directly. So this is just a photo from a marketing campaign. It's actually real and it's working. In a BMW car, basically you can download games and start playing in your head unit. And then there is a third case, which is what you said. You can be a passenger. You can just relax on the rear seat and then watch some streaming movies, whatever. So for today, we're going to focus on the first two scenarios because this is a little bit different. There is a reason. The content that you see here is basically very similar to the content you consume on a mobile app. There are not so many legal restrictions. You can do mostly whatever. But for the content you put on the head unit, security and distractions and everything, so it's very well regulated, and that's why the kind of apps that you can put there are very restricted. So we will be talking about those two main scenarios. And yeah, changing a little bit the topic, just focusing a little bit more on the head unit, we can basically differentiate two main form factors in Android. Android Auto, that probably, well, for sure you know, when you rent a car or whatever, you take your phone and then you connect it to the head unit. And there, probably you are using applications like Waze to avoid issues with radars and fines and whatever, navigate to places, Google Maps, whatever. The good thing, well, not the good thing, but the thing to know about this is that the apps that you see there are running directly in your phone. This is not running in the car. This is the main difference. So anything you put on your phone, if it is accepted by the Android Auto program, can be used directly in the screen of the car. So this is the idea. But still, everything is running on your phone. Android Auto is actually very well supported by most of the OEMs and also by aftermarket stereos. So you can find this solution and interact with this kind of apps in a very wide range. And then we have another solution that probably is not very well known, but it's called Android Automotive OS. And this solution is actually embedded inside the head unit of the car. So that means that it's like if we had a phone here running directly there with the operating system. So everything is running directly in the car, and that means we have direct access to the car sensors. Like you can know stuff like the status of the battery, you can know different signals, you can know many different things and use that data directly in your own apps. But there is basically a difference in here, and it's that regarding the ecosystem, not all the cars at the moment are supporting this solution, and it has to go through a huge validation process and verification process by Google. So in order to use this solution there and say that this is an Android operating system, Google needs to be need to agree with your own solution. It cannot be that you put whatever there and say, okay, this is an Android car. No. And the reason is to make sure that all the apps that developers are building are compatible with each other. One more thing about this, part of the terminology used in this world is that we have the operating system, which is open source, is Android Automotive OS. But if you are using services from Google, which are called Google Automotive Services, like location services, some authentication services, there are many different services that you can use for your phone as well. They are called Google Mobile Services, but this is exactly the same story. Then basically Google rebranded this as a different name. It's called Google Built-in. And then if you're in this world, you will hear by car manufacturers using this kind of marketing word in many places. When if you are trying to buy a car recently, like a Polestar or a Volvo or something like this, you will see with Google Built-in. It just means that it's basically certified by Google and can use all the Google services there, Google Maps and all this stuff. There are other cars, like we will see later, mostly BMWs and German cars, that don't use the official verified version from Google. They are using something that is Android Automotive, but it's not verified by Google yet. So they cannot use stuff like Google Maps and stuff like that.
But you can just download something from Google Play and like install it here.
Yes.
So it's like Android for everything.
Yes, but only in the cars that support the Google built-in solution. In a BMW, you cannot do that right now. We will see it later. Why? Yeah. So this is how it looks right now. Those are the brands that are supporting Google Automotive, Android Automotive OS at the moment. They started, I think it was in 2011. No, 2000. No, not 11. 2019, 20. They were supporting Polestar. They started. This was the first release of this operating system, and then little by little, they started supporting more and more cars. So these are the different cars, the different manufacturers. But from Polestars, they already have different car models supported, like Polestar 2, I think Polestar 5 as well. From Volvo, exactly the same. They have different Volvo models supported in there. And that means that you release your app once, and then you can target many different models of cars. Still way less than in Android Auto, but it's coming there. And then the good thing about this is that the ecosystem keeps growing and growing. I mean, as I said, there are many German car manufacturers who already implemented Android Automotive, but still didn't go through the verification process of Google. But this is just a business decision. As soon as somebody says, okay, let's use it, they will start appearing here, and that means that your apps can target those vehicles as well. So yeah, that's mostly it about the ecosystem and the little intro. So let's see what kind of app categories we can build. The reason for talking about this is because when you are a mobile developer, you mostly have ideas about many different things, like, I don't know, to-do app. You can build it and put it on Google Play, and everybody can download it and use it. But in the car, we are very restricted. So in fact, if you have a to-do app, right now it is not possible to deploy it. So the different kind of apps are defined mostly by Google, and are basically those. I put there another QR. This is not my YouTube channel. This is just documentation about the different categories with further explanations, and basically comparing them and explaining what you can do or not with the different apps. So as you can see, we have the typical applications, navigation, like Google Maps, Waze, as I said before. We have point of interest apps like charging apps or finding restaurants nearby, stuff like that. We have Internet of Things apps, which are applications that let you turn on, turn off some services at home, for example, like opening a garage door or turning on the lights or whatever. Then we have other applications that are mostly targeting communication, sending messages or calling, of course, streaming media as well, like Spotify, these kind of applications. And lately, we have other applications that have been added, like video streaming, games, and browsers. So we will be talking about the different categories because if you remember the three first scenarios that I was showing at the beginning, not all the apps are suitable for all of them. So depending on what you want to do and your use case, you can use some categories or others. And this is what we are going to discuss next. So I tried to create a taxonomy for classifying the different groups of categories, and I thought about three different dimensions. The first one is the form factor. Depending on whether you want to support Android Auto or Android Automotive, you can use some categories or others. Same for the vehicle mode. If you want to support if you want the users to use your app while driving, you can only use certain kind of apps. If you don't want to use some applications that are built by using templates, we will define what templates are in the next slide. But first, just think about some kind of pre-built components for building UI. Then also you are very restricted. If you say, I want my own brand of application, say that you are Spotify and you have your own UI and so on, then if you have that case, then you can only build very, very specific categories. So this is what we are going to see next. So templated apps, as I said, basically they are apps that use some kind of predefined components. As I said, those components try to limit the amount of distractions in the car. You can use them while you are driving, but on the other hand, you are very limited. And that means that most of the apps look very alike, which is what you see in Android Auto. So you see a navigation app. Okay, Google Maps is the exceptions because they can do whatever they want. But if you are using, okay, Waze is now Google, another third-party application that is showing you information about chargers, they are doing exactly the same like a competitor. It's basically showing you some menus and then a map, something like that. The way how the information is displayed on the screen, pretty much the same. That's the problem of these templates. But it's not only that. The usage of templates requires something that is called the Car Android library, CAL for short. And basically, as I said, this is the same approach used by Android Auto, but in the case of Android Automotive, this library needs an app that is installed, pre-installed in the operating system. It's called the template app host that can be downloaded from there within the car. If you try to install that from the phone, it won't work, but in the car you can. And thanks to that, the application is working and rendering those templates. I will tell you an issue about this template host a little bit later, because it's the key to understand why there are different kind of app stores and why there is so much fragmentation in this ecosystem. So just keep this in mind, that there is this application for now. Okay, so starting with the first dimension, the form factor. As you can see here, if you're targeting Android Auto, you have some specific categories that are not supported on Android Automotive. Some of them are supported in both platforms, but some not. So, for example, the communication apps, they are basically, it's a category that has been added very recently, and it's only available in Android Auto. So, I don't know, say Skype is dead now, but Teams, Microsoft Teams. If you were Microsoft and you wanted to deploy something on Google Play, then you know that it's not available for Android Automotive yet. And the same applies for Android Automotive. If you are building a browser, you know that you cannot deploy it yet in Android Auto. So depending on what you want to build, you need to know that you can only target certain amount of platforms. Okay, so same applies to the vehicle mode. There are some specific apps that can only be used for parking. So if you are building a game, because you already have a game in mobile, you can only use while parking. Again, the same reason, distractions. You cannot play while you are driving. So it would be very, very bad for the safety of the people. Same for browsers and video. So you can stream, you can watch it while you are parking, and there are some apps that allow you to keep listening the audio while you start driving, but still the video will be completely blocked. And yeah, so if you have parking and driving modes, and then yeah, those categories that we see on the left are basically the apps that you can use for both modes. So a navigation app can be used while you are parking and while you are driving, of course. Oops, wait, here. Okay. And then about the category of parking apps, Google just created a program that is called the Karma program. It's called Car Ready Mobile Apps. This is like a transition program for mobile app developers who want to deploy their apps in cars. And it's basically targeting applications like games. So if you are a game developer, you can already publish your app in a car by using this program. Same if you are a browser or if you have a video streaming application. Yeah, so one thing to know about this is that it only works for Android Automotive. It doesn't support Android Auto for now, maybe in the future. Games, yes, but This program is basically just targeting, if you have a mobile app, I don't know, like Candy Crush or whatever, release on your phone. If you are the developer, you can put it directly in the car, but not in Android Auto. For Android Auto, you would need to do some other stuff. And the way this works is because car manufacturers are forced to do some kind of a compatibility mode and so on, just to avoid that when displaying this content, it's not covering some specific parts of the screen and so on and so forth. I won't enter too much into those technical details. But yeah, just keep the idea that it is possible to do that now. And that means that the Play Store is getting flooded by these kind of applications because it's just, you already have the app, so you can click a button and bam, releasing cars. And yeah, the last part is basically UI UX. What can you build if you don't want to use templates? Well, as I said, basically you have your app that was already a mobile app, and this wasn't used templates for sure. So those kind of apps can also be categorized here. You have media apps. This is a very good example because there are two versions. There are media apps that can be built using the traditional way of building apps in Android, and others that can be using templates. Functionality is the same, just the UI is changing. And communication is the same. You can build kind of both using the different approaches for UI, but you need to know that in the case of the communication messaging on the right is very limited. What you can do is basically just showing notifications. All this, what I'm saying, is basically in the link that I was sharing before with the QR. So if you are curious, you can go there and use it for the reference. And that being said, now you know the different use cases that are in the car, the different app categories that you can build. So now is the time to distribute them. You spend a lot of effort, and now you want to hit the real cars. So how can we do that? So we have these options. If you want to target cars with Google built-in, your solution is Google Play. There is nothing else. You want to target cars like most of the German manufacturers, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and all those, you need to go with third-party app stores. So unfortunately, it's like that at the moment. Those two names that I put there are basically the names of the companies behind the app stores. The first one is called Appning by Forvia. Forvia is like a car manufacturer supplier, and Harman the same. They are also building audio systems for cars and consumer speakers and stuff like that. And they belong to Samsung. So that's more or less the industry behind this. So talking about Google Play, if you want to deploy something on Android Auto, Google Play is your only option. If you want to target Google Automotive services, this is your only option. So unfortunately, it's like this. There is no way that you can deploy an app in a BMW car by using Google Play, for example. This is what you were asking at the beginning. So unless somebody at BMW, I'm always saying BMW, but could be somewhere, some other brand. Unless somebody from BMW is deciding to switch and become an official Google built-in operating system, they won't be able to do that for you. So just keep that in mind. So talking a little bit about Google Play, some details. So if you have released apps in Google Play, this is very familiar for you. Probably you have been publishing apps here for phone, tablets, and so on. And what I want to show you is basically how to enable the car form factors. So basically, you can go to the advanced settings, just add the form factors of Android Automotive OS and Android Auto. And then you will see it listed like this. And then you can start trying to release your apps. Important things about this is this. So if you are targeting, so if you have already a mobile app, or if you don't have a mobile app, but you are targeting Android Auto, there is no separate way of publishing for Android Auto. You are still publishing a mobile app with something else that I'm not going to tell you right now because those are technical details, but everything is an artifact. So as I said at the beginning, it's the same app running on your phone but projected to the car. So that's why in Google Play there is nothing separate. But when it comes to Android Automotive, it can be a different artifact. And why can it be a different artifact? Because of the following. You can have an app, an existing app that you are using for the phone, and you want the same app to be released for the car, yeah, like a game. Exactly the same. Candy Crush, you can exactly use the same in the car. Then you can use the first option there, release using the same track. However, if say that you have a navigation app and the experience of that app in the mobile phone is completely different, you may choose to have a different release track customized for the car by using templates, for example, and then you are basically releasing two different apps within the same Google Play account. That's why there's this menu in there. Another thing to tell you, so probably it's more target for you because you already published something here for sure. There are two ways of publishing apps in Android, in Google Play. So say that you have an existing mobile app. That mobile app has already a package ID. The package ID is basically like the name of the app and is unique on the Google Play. So there won't be another app reusing the same name. When publishing that app in the car, you can choose whether to reuse that name or not. And there are pros and cons. The advantage of that is that you can basically reuse the same Google Play account and listing. So all the user reviews, all the information and everything goes to the same place if you are sharing that package ID. But there is a problem. And the problem is that by reusing the same package, while Google is reviewing those apps, you can block the mobile app. And that can be very bad. So in my case, I have the experience of doing that. And it can take weeks until you are able to unblock the mobile app release because something is failing in the car. The reviews in the cars are taking way, way longer for safety reasons. So it's mostly a business decision, but still it can affect your development team or cadence in this case. If you are releasing every week, be aware that maybe it will delay you. One good thing about Google Play, you can go there and in the same way you can see which mobile devices are supported. You can already see, well, it's maybe too small. Okay, mental note to change that. Basically, this is the list of the different models. So here you can see Polestar, yeah, it's very bad resolution. Volvo, mostly the brands that were that I showed before, but with some kind of internal naming, which references the head unit that is being used. Together here with the version of the operating system. Most of them are using Android 12, which is 4 years old, or even 5 years old. But it's a good thing to have because basically like this, you can see where your app is going. So which users, which cars are using your app. And it's very good.
So we have to buy those cars for test, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That could be really good, huh? You can have a car every day.
Was it the one you recommended?
Yeah. Yeah, so and another good thing about Google Play is that it is possible to see the different apps that are there. So for mobile, we are used to do that, but in a newborn ecosystem like this, it's very crucial because you can see which apps are already doing something similar to the stuff you want to build. So right now there are like 220 apps. I was scraping this stuff, so that's why I know. And you can access them there actually. Again, this is not my YouTube channel. It's really Google Play.
Excuse me, do you know by chance how many of these are actually apps that already exist and they just plot them this project braking system? Because Audible.
All of them. All of them are. No. All those apps are actually for Android Automotive. All those. No. Those all of them are Android Automotive. So if you have a Polestar, no, this is not Android Auto. Maybe some of them are supporting them, but the main target here is Android Automotive. So if you have a Polestar or a Volvo, you can download any of those. You can play one of those games, for example. Yeah.
Do you know if Android for cars allows side loading like normal Android does?
That's a very good question.
What?
Side loading, so downloading the software not from Google Play Store, just the file.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
I mean, not officially because of security issues. I mean, all the cars, probably some of them have backdoors, but are not known. You basically side loading means I send you the APK per email or whatever, and then you install it in your car. This doesn't work. This doesn't work because you can basically install whatever, and then, for example, imagine you are driving and you don't have brakes because somebody installed a virus there. That's the problem. So the OEMs the OEMs, in this case Google, needs to verify those apps and make sure that there is no weird stuff happening in there and it's not affecting parts of the car.
Does it have control over the brakes?
Well, you can mostly read stuff. In Android, there are many layers of protection. But, I mean, a little bit about Android security, everything is running in a different process, isolated from everything. But this is, in practice, you can actually find some gaps and some issues. And then if you escalate privileges, you can do stuff that is basically accessing stuff in the car you shouldn't. This is the problem of all this stuff here. The environment is not a safe environment. If you do something in your phone, okay, you can maybe lose your money in the bank, but they won't kill you, at least directly. But here, without brakes, that's the problem, yeah.
So when it comes to Google auditing, verifying, as you say, that, to your experience, which was the most, let's say, lengthy process? What took them the longest to verify?
What took them long to verify? I'll tell you in a bit, but in short, remember that I was talking about the library, this car Android library with templates and so. We were using functionality that wasn't allowed to be used in our app because we were supposed to be a different category. That means that if you target a category like say point of interest app, a POI app, you cannot be using functionality from audio streaming, for example. We didn't know that. It wasn't stated in the documentation back then. And we were getting rejections and we didn't know why. And then it took like months.
Is the reason exactly what you mentioned previously, security reasons? Maybe?
No. Well, in that case, it wasn't a security reason, but they do a very strict review. This wasn't a security issue. A security issue could be, for example, that you are using these templates for building a navigation app, and then you hide something for sending data to some server or creating like a terminal or whatever, you know. This is a big thing, and then they will discover it and ban your account or whatever.
And the way you describe it, it is almost as if they've got they only allow certain functionality.
Yes.
Because certain rules exist.
Yes.
Without any good reason behind it. Right? Because if you want to combine functionality, then it's no-go.
You can combine functionality, but every category has a very specific quality assurance process that needs to be followed. Otherwise, if you get out of there, then it won't be accepted. That's the problem. But this didn't have to do with security reasons. It's just about safety while driving mostly. It's just how it was done. Yeah.
English, I don't know about this thing, but when you show playing games and stuff like that, it's on a separate computer, not the base computer and the...
Yes.
So they have a separate computer not connected.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so all these head units and everything, it's running usually in some kind of partitions and separated from other central units in the car, like ECUs, electronic central units, and so. But still, the fact that it's running separately doesn't mean that it cannot access somehow the others. And we see many examples on the internet by hackers, like, I don't know, just because of an app released here, they can actually, I don't know, open the car for whatever reason and then steal it. Even if the app is not installed in the car and it's installed in your app, they can get through the account, and since the car is sharing the same account as the mobile phone, if they hack the mobile phone account, they can hack the car and open the car, do many things, and you don't know. But yeah, it's just the process. You just need to keep in mind that it's a different world than the mobile device.
You are not selling it well.
Sorry?
You are not selling it well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm just here for, share my experience. Yeah. But anyway, so just trying to finish this up, talking about the app stores that are not Google Play. So in the case you want to put your app on a Mercedes, for example, remember I was telling you the good things about Google Play. You can see which car models are supported, which apps are in there. This is a big problem of these kind of stores. There's a lot of marketing and so on, but nothing clear. There's no real data there. They say stuff like in some places, okay, we support 23 car brands. In other places, we support 30 car brands. Okay, how many are you supporting? And then from those, only 9 brands are currently live. If you are a developer and you are targeting these people, it's basically a lot of effort for you without knowing whether your app is going to be deployed or not. And that is a big deal, mostly because for targeting these people, you cannot use those Google Automotive services like location stuff and maybe some authorization stuff. If you have a Google account, you cannot use that here. You have to use something else provided by either these people or the car manufacturer. And for you, that means more development effort, more money for your company. It's the same for Harman. So this is directly from their website. We have over 180 applications. Okay, why? Where is this data? This is coming because they were scraping also the Google Play account like I did, and they found out that there are around 200 applications. So they need to compete somehow. That's why they do it like this. And then, oh, we support 5 global OEMs. Okay, but which ones? I mean, I need to know that. That's the problem if you're targeting these kind of app stores. Another thing is the fragmentation. I was telling you at the beginning about this car Android, car Android library, and I was telling you about this app, the app host for supporting these templates, and so the source of this app, the template host, used to be open source by Google, but they stopped releasing this in the version number 4. And now all these people are super dependent on this because Google didn't open source. Well, they didn't actually release more updates of this code. So that means that if you want to target these apps, these app stores, you are basically forced to use all their APIs, all their functionality that is not supported by, well, it's still supported by Google Play, but not the latest stuff. And that means you have to basically create different artifacts again for certain kind of cars. That is the problem of this, like not being standardized. It's actually just telling you to be aware if you are targeting this kind of ecosystem. And going a little bit further, there are some people like Harman who extended this library and allow you to do stuff like rendering games in the templates. It is possible because in the end, those templates are just rendering stuff in the screen. So you can, whatever you render, it's okay. So they modified the open source from Google and did this stuff. That means that this will never hit the Google Play, for example. Meaning that this is very, very, very specific to this app store. Maybe this is a car, a Volkswagen car, an ID3, ID5, whatever, an electric car with Flappy Bird. Okay, but you know, all the effort that you put building this, you know that it's only for those specific cars. If I follow the rules by Google, I know that I can hit a bigger marketplace, and that's the thing. I mean, as a developer, you want to hit as many users as possible, because in the end, yeah, you develop for making money or whatever, right? So that's the whole idea. And another thing, another critic to this kind of app stores is that there are two reviews. The fact that the app gets approved by the app store doesn't necessarily mean that it will hit the car. It's not like Google Play. You get one review, it can be harder or more or less hard, but at the end of the day, it will hit a very specific catalog of cars. Here, the last word is by the OEM. And I was trying to deploy an application there. It was reviewed by the App Store, but we never knew which cars were actually using the app or not. This is not transparent at all. So that's mostly the problem of this chain of distribution. So it can be that somebody likes it, like a BMW, and they will put it there. But on the other hand, if you have a Mercedes, if they have a similar app to the one that you are building and it's a competitor, what do you think they will do? They probably will say, I don't want this app running in my car because it's killing my own app. That's the problem. While if you have that app on Google Play is just an intermediary, right? Here, they are more involved. That's the problem. And yeah, so let's try to wrap this up with some conclusion. Yeah, so as you saw, this world of cars in Android is a very, very, very narrow niche. It has nothing to do with mobile. It's very, very, very limited. Sorry?
But do you foresee growing?
Yes, it is. It is really growing. It is. I mean, I started with this a few.
Mature market still. So that's why it's fragmented, you know. But the only problem you've got is the big fish is not letting anyone else grow around it. So it will end up being Google, or authorities have to come in and force something to do.
It will be Google for sure. I mean, it will be Google because they control the whole ecosystem. The others are just like what we saw with mobile devices in the past.
You don't have an Apple trying to.
No, well, for Apple, there is CarPlay, which is actually the equivalent of Android Auto, but they didn't get inside the car.
They didn't do that. That's the thing, because it was the only potential competitor really already funded.
Yeah.
The other ones are still trying to catch up, so it's difficult to see to end up there.
Yeah.
I mean, all these people depend so strongly from Google that they have no chance. I mean, we see it.
And I mean, it will come to a point where the market, the consumer market, is going to tell them, "We won't have Android, we won't have Android."
That is the thing.
I don't rent a car. It doesn't happen anymore. So the rental cars companies will buy Android cars with Android Auto on top, and then the whole demand drives.
Yeah.
So Google is just sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
The market will grow.
Pretty much. I mean, they have the advantage that people are used to use their own services. So if you are an Android user and you are using Google Maps, you want to go to this car probably and use Google Maps. And if it is not supported, you can probably use your phone with Android Auto or whatever and then still use it. The reason why those car manufacturers are not supporting these services from Google, it's because they are afraid that Google will take over all the data and monetize all their ecosystem and so on. They will basically become like hardware manufacturers for Google, and this is what they don't want.
Yeah, but that's my question. Why would it be like Android? It can be like operating system for itself.
Yes, this is what they have been doing in the past, like Linux and so on.
Yeah. Then you don't need like Android. No, Android is also a niche for itself.
Yeah, but there is a problem with that. If you use Linux in the car, then the problem multiplies, because if you are a developer, that means that you are Spotify and you want to develop your app for BMW, you have to go to BMW and ask for an SDK for developing there. You want to put your app on a Mercedes, you have to go to Mercedes, ask for an SDK for that. So it doesn't scale. For a
Maybe someone who can develop like braking system for cars,
yeah.
and then it will be something like everyone will like Linux for like laptop, whatever.
There are some solutions, but still they customize it so much and they change so much internally because they offer, each car has like very similar services but still different ones, and it's not standardized. The ecosystem was even worse than here. So that's why many of those car manufacturers saw in Android Automotive like the solution for their problems, right? And that's why they are trying to take advantage of the developers, because they know that in Android, there is a huge amount of developers for mobile, and they can sell more cars by putting more apps in their cars. I don't know. So, well, I know. I mean, I used to work for BMW, and they said that many people in other markets like China were already selecting some cars because they had some digital services, more applications than others. Here in Europe, maybe it's not. It's about power and comfort and so on. But there, people were already deciding, okay, that car is supporting the services that I have on my phone. I want that car. They didn't care about the driving experience or anything. And those are real facts by car manufacturers. So it's a very weird world. Yeah. Yeah. So just trying to finish this one. Yeah. So the good news is that the ecosystem keeps evolving, and probably at some point most of the car manufacturers will be embracing this, which will be great for us app developers because we can only target one platform, and then our products will be there. And yeah, as already mentioned, there is a huge fragmentation still. Basically, we saw this with mobile devices, but it's now happening with the cars. And unfortunately, this is the situation. And yeah, just to finish, some feedback. As I said before, regarding the distribution, there is very poor feedback provided by Google Play. In some cases, it's due to bugs. So in my experience, coming back to your question from before, how long did it take you to get approval? There were cases where I found a bug on Google's code and everything was blocked. And we had to prove to them that it was their code, and then our app got whitelisted. We got in change of emails directly with Google. So, but who is able to do that? You have to have a very good leverage working for a company who can say, look, if our app doesn't go there, we go with CarPlay and screw you, And that's why they got back to us, because otherwise, if you are like a freelancer or whoever, they won't even bother you. And the net is full of examples like those. So that's the main problem, yeah. But still, I think I find it, Google Play would be right now my recommendation, at least for starting, right?
It also sounds like you can do any upgrades to your app. Could be any updated.
Yes, because it needs to go through another review. Every update is a review, so it's like a lottery. At least at the very beginning, once you show them that you are doing the right things, because most of those reviews are done manually, and everything will go smooth. We didn't have a problem for ages now, so yeah. And yeah, so about the other kind of third-party app stores, as I said, the main problem here is you don't have information at all. You don't know which brands are supported with apps are in there, and then this double gate review is a killer, because you never know if your app will make it to a certain car or not. So in the end, it's up to the decision of the car manufacturer. And yeah, so that's mostly it, what I have today for you. I hope that you learned something and you are willing to create an app and put it in the car at some point. I hope I didn't scare you too much, yeah.
Are you creating another one after this saga?
Sorry?
Are you creating another one after this?
Yeah, why not? I like dealing with these people, especially when you find a bug and you convince them that is their problem. That's really satisfying,
So for a developer, is the money better when they develop car apps?
It's what?
Is the money better when you develop?
No, actually, this is a very good point. Right now, there is no way to monetize that directly. So
So you're just a hobby.
yes, directly as a developer, you cannot earn money from that. There is no monetization there. That's why right now this ecosystem is mostly focused on companies like Spotify. You put your services there and then you get more users because while you are driving, you are listening to music, for example. So those are the kind of people that are actually in the ecosystem. They started getting tractions from indie developers by allowing them to put games. Because if you sell stuff inside the games, it's the same as in the mobile app. But very, very niche within a niche. It's, you know.
They don't use sensors, car sensors, right?
No, those probably not even there. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, as I said, I hope you like it, and yeah. If you are interested in more technical details, we can do another session another time, and I can show you a little bit more how to build them. Yeah, that was mostly it that I have for today. Yeah. Thanks.
How far are you abstracted away from the canvas? So you're obviously connected in some way to the canvas to get sensor information, but I'd imagine you can't just send bits and bytes down the canvas.
You cannot talk to the canvas directly. The canvas is, for people who don't know, it's like a communication mechanism inside the car for talking. So it's like the way how the different electronic central units are talking to each other. And as part of the operating system here, all those layers are abstracted. So you have APIs for doing specific stuff, but directly sending messages there, no. There are APIs, for example, for reading, for example, if the car is on or off, the status of the windows. All this stuff is implemented already in Android, and you can query and use it like a normal API, like for example, your location on the phone and stuff like that. So, but you cannot do stuff like like triggering a signal somewhere within the car. No, that's the thing. It's mostly for safety reasons. At least I'm not aware of that. Maybe there are some situations like changing the luminosity of the car, or like, but those are very specific use cases, and they require the implementation of the car manufacturer to deal with the car model. And then the way it works is, say that BMW has a use case. So for example, they have interior lights. They can dim the lights inside the car while you are driving the highway and it's dark and so on. Imagine that they want you to control this from an app. They would build some kind of logic in there, and if Android is not supporting that, they would talk to Google, and then they would create an API there. They would standardize it, and then other car manufacturers can benefit from this. If it is not built, they will do a customization of that, and then try to use it somehow. But yeah, it's very limited in that sense. Yeah.
How much can stand about roughly from the system is open source, and how much closed for the car? Let's say 20% open source, 80% closed source, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I would say like 80% is basically Android. It's the open source Android that you see you can access online. You can build it yourself if you want. And then 20% is custom code. So all the UI for sure is custom. All the cars are branding that with different colors, different putting bars somewhere else, navigation bars, or like for in many cases they are replacing the physical buttons by digital buttons, and then from there you can activate the heating, the seat heating, and stuff like that. This is very specific to the car, so all this is customizations. And then there are some other logic that they put in there completely custom, and they have to maintain it. Yeah. So I would say 80-20, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. The more you customize, the more difficult to maintain. With every migration every year, it's very hard to move from one version to another. That's why they are in Android 12, and we are now here in Android 16. They are always very, very delayed.
I have a question. All this, the general discussion, you can say, about building like Android native apps, vs like using web or React Native or whatever. So probably the same here, or there is some difference?
Yeah, it is. I mean, remember that I was talking about templated apps? Those for sure are native per se, because they are using that library, and what you can do with the UI, it's basically restricted there. So they have to be native. There is no other way of using that library if you have like a React application. So what you can do is to use stuff like Kotlin multi-platform, stuff like that, which we were talking about in a previous meetup. And with that, you can generate basically native code and then use that from your application. So that is not a problem. But you cannot put a web application today.
Web itself.
No.
Something like React Native.
I mean, from the browser, if you have like a Google Chrome in your car, you could basically go there and go to your website and use whatever you want. This you can do, but as an app yourself, you cannot do that nowadays. So if you are a car manufacturer, you can do whatever you want. You can put anything there, but officially you can't. So we as normal developers, we cannot do that right now. Yeah. Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know there are any insurance companies that create such apps, Android apps for cars?
That's another very good question. There are, and they have a very interesting use case. Basically, I don't know if this exists here, but when I used to live in Germany, they would give you an option, your car insurance, to collect data from you, your driving style, and according to that, they would increase or decrease your insurance. So they have a similar scenario here where they are basically collecting data from all the sensors of the car. So because they know the speed, they know where you are driving, they know how much you are allowed to, how fast you are allowed to drive there. And if you are doing donuts in the middle of the street or not, like this kind of stuff. And then according to that, they can give you a rating and give you a bonus or not.
I think even more so, I mean, you think when you try to get insured, they ask you for different types of estimates, like how much do you drive per year, right?
Yes.
And if they have a model where they can monitor exactly how much you drive and where you drive, then they will have a much better business model at the end of the day, more fair as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They can access all this for sure. Yeah. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, some car manufacturers offer their own insurances. Because they have access to all this data and they can offer you customized services. So, yeah. All right. Luis, do you have any question? Okay, so I think that was it. Yeah, as I said, I hope you like it, and yeah.